Hey friends, it's Natasha, and today I'm going to tell you how to homeschool your special needs preschooler using Evan-Moor. But even if your preschooler does not have special needs, stick around anyway because these methods can really work for any little one. All right, so let's jump in and get started with the books that you will need. I have planned out a full year of pre-K for around 4 years old, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did. But the three books that you will need are the Top Student, this is by Evan-Moor, and the Smart Start STEM Pre-K, Evan-Moor of course, and the Smart Start Read and Write Pre-K. So you will need these three books. I do have reviews of all three of these books individually, so I will definitely link them down below. But this video, I'm not going to so much give you a look inside the books, but I'm actually going to tell you how to teach your special needs preschooler with these books and the plan that I've set out. So the first thing I want to talk about is this plan that I actually made, and I'm going to link this down below. It will be a completely free download. And so let me explain this to you. So the first thing I have over here is a key. So I've labeled Top Student as TS. I've labeled Smart Start Read and Write as SSRW and Smart Start STEM as SSS. And then I have Daily. And those are the things you can do as like a morning meeting type of thing. And I have Mindful Moments, which is in the Top Students. It has a QR code that you use with your phone, and the child can listen to that. So that's something that they can do in the morning before they get started. You can also use the alphabet chart that is in the back of Top Student to review the alphabet and sounds every single day. I notice having the student point to the letter and say A, B, B, C, K, and so forth. It helps them with the visual reminder of what the letters look like, and just do that daily. In this book, there is also a feelings chart project that you will actually cut out, and I recommend getting that done right away the first day so that you can use it throughout the year, and I would recommend laminating it too. You can also practice counting. So start with 1 to 10 and go up from there. So those are kind of the daily routine type of things that you might want to do. Now, how I've broken this down is I've broken it down by week, a 33-week schedule. Often homeschools run on a 36-week schedule, but I do have a 33-week schedule, so it does give you a little flexibility if you take some extra time off during the holidays or sickness comes up or things like that. But with each week, basically how it works is that there's 4 weeks focused on a different letter, and then there's a review week. 4 weeks on a different letter, review. Except for when we get to the end, it's 3 letters at a time and then a review. And so that's kind of how that works. And then what I've done is each week I have put here which pages you will use in the Top Student and the Smart Start Read and Write. For the alphabet, what pages you'll be using for writing, for early reading, for math, for science, for STEM, geography, social emotional learning, and computer science. So those are all the topics that you will be covering in pre-K with this plan. Let me tell you a little bit about my daughter. So she was diagnosed with sensory processing disorder, dyspraxia, and a speech disorder with articulation specifically. When I made this plan, I was taking those things into account. However, I really do believe this plan will work for any pre-K student with special needs or not. But some of the things specifically I wanted to talk about why I did things the way I did. So let's first start with sensory processing disorder. So with that, she has a lot of issues with how things feel. She needs to have a lot of movement and sensory input. And so she also needs a very structured routine. And if the routine is going to change, she needs to be notified about it in advance. And so what you'll notice on this schedule is that we have the same things every day so they can expect routine. And so we have, alphabet and writing every day. And then early reading doesn't start until week 11. So after they're getting, some of those alphabet sounds down, we'll start early reading. Math is also every day. And then So here's how this works with science, STEM, and geography. Those are bunched. So for the first 11 weeks, I'll be focusing on science. From weeks 12 to weeks 27, they'll be working on STEM. And then the last 6 weeks or so, they'll be working on geography. Now, and that makes up the whole 33 weeks, so science, STEM, or geography. Now, you could alternate these, but I did this specifically. That way, my daughter can know exactly what to expect, and so she's got many weeks of, doing science, then many weeks of doing STEM, then many weeks of doing geography, because it lessens those transitions for her. If you wanted to change this, you totally could. The social emotional learning is only the first few weeks, but you can still use the feelings chart in the book over and over. And then computer science is also only a few weeks, and that's started after social emotional learning. So basically, I didn't want to overwhelm the student with too much. Just by homeschooling, you're kind of automatically giving a child with sensory processing disorder a great start, because you can really have your daily routine really smooth and figured out to meet your child's needs. You can, of course, give the advance notice that they need when a change is occurring, and you can build in brain breaks where they're getting up. And what we do is we have where they, do bear crawl and crab walk, and they can, they're going up and down, getting their energy out and crossing over the midline and all of that. And it is great for really everybody. Everybody can do that. Any little 4-year-old can have these great brain breaks, but they're especially great for special needs children. You should also consider a visual schedule. Now, I didn't make one up yet, but if you want me to, I can. I'm not the most creative person in the world, but I can do my best. But even if you just have note cards that you just write on there what's next, or maybe put a picture because they're probably not reading it. And that way, you can do alphabet, writing, math, science, and they know exactly what's coming. And then when the subject does change, you can, of course, change it out. And of course, you can include things in there like breakfast and lunchtime. Another great thing about these books is that they do a lot of tracing. And with dyspraxia, it is a motor coordination disorder, basically. And one of the issues that kids with dyspraxia can have, just like kids with dysgraphia, that, they're two different things, but similar in that way, is they could have trouble with handwriting. If they are struggling writing their letters at this size, then what you can do is something like this, where they are creating letters, with some tactile input, which is also great for sensory processing disorder too. So here they just have some like paint and a Ziploc baggie, and they've got some glitter and stuff in there, and they're making the letter A. Now, you could also do this with shaving cream, or if you're worried about them eating the shaving cream, you can do it with pudding and spread it on a plate or just on the table and work on those letters. So you can take the lessons from these books, and if they can't physically write it out here, if this is just too difficult, you can still use what is on this page and do it in an alternate mode. You could also use sidewalk chalk outside. You could also use those window paint markers if you don't mind cleaning it off. You can also do where you just go outside and you wet it down, and then they just can use a paintbrush on the wet ground. And so there's all kinds of ways like that you can incorporate these lessons. And if they have trouble with the drawing and writing section, you can just skip it. So you can make this fit you. Another thing is, instead of circling the letters, you can use the do a dot markers. But I do suggest you keep working on those motor skills so that they can work up to doing this physically with a pencil. And so for the speech disorder, of course, that is something that's not addressed in this curriculum. However, when you are learning all of the letters and their sounds, if your student struggles with a speech disorder, they very well may be saying the sounds incorrectly. What I suggest doing is getting a little mirror for them to look into and really exaggerating when you are saying the sounds, exaggerating your mouth, lip, and tongue placement, and also showing, where does the sound come from? Is it coming from here or is it coming from here? really focus on each letter sound so that they can hear it correctly and then try to produce it correctly. But of course, if they don't produce it correctly, that's okay. If they are in speech therapy, you might want to just jot down a note, give to their speech therapist, like, hey, I noticed we were working on, you know, the sound of V, and she was struggling with that, and they can give you some ideas too. One thing I wanted to point out in the STEM book that might be a challenge for kids with any special needs is this page right here where it's plan, create, and test. And so what I would suggest, if they can't, you know, design this plan themselves on the paper, that you really just let them use the materials. And so in this one, this is a pirate boat. So they're supposed to design and construct a boat that will float on water. And the boat must float, and the boat must hold 22 pennies for at least 20 seconds. And the suggested materials are aluminum foil, rubber band, sponge, corks, string, straws, tub of water, 22 pennies, and paper. There's the STEM process here. And on step 2, they're going to draw a picture of the boat you will make. If that is too much for them, then you can have them just start making the boat, and you can take a picture of the finished product. And if you want to save it for memories, you can paste it here, print it out, paste it here, and then you can take a picture of them testing it. So you can, or you could just really ignore this page and just do the actual challenge. It depends on, you know, what you want to keep for your portfolio or anything like that. And I am going to link this entire plan down below. The colors are just my blocked off section. So in other words, I can see here we won't be doing early reading for the first 10 weeks, and we won't be doing STEM for the first, 11 weeks, and so forth, just as a visual for myself. And also it has that built-in review, like I already said, which is also great for kids with special needs to be constantly reviewing what they've learned. And if this is going too fast, you can of course slow it down. Now, I didn't break this up by day because some people, will do pre-K with their child 2 days a week. Some will do it 3, some 4, some 5. And so that way you have each week what you should be doing, and then you can decide how you want to break it up based on your family schedule within that week. So let me give you an example of week 1. You'll do top student, page 8 to 9 for the alphabet, and Smart Start Read and Write, page 6 to 11 for the week. So then you can decide how you want to break that up. You'll do writing, top student, pages 80 to 85. You'll do math, top student, page 196 to 197. So there's only 2 worksheets of math for that week. For science, you'll do pages 278 to 279. And for social emotional learning, you'll do page 328 in top student. So then you can just spread that out across your week, however it best fits your schedule. So I do hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know down below. Again, if you want to see the inside of all of these books, check down below where they will all be linked, and that way you can see exactly what these are like. But I hope this gave you a great starting point. Of course, there's tons more Evan-Moor books you could add to this, but I think with these 3 books, you have a really well-rounded full year, and I think this is everything you need for pre-K right here. So thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed day.